We've spent the last 2 sessions favouring those singles players. I thought it was about time we had a little bit of a look at doubles, so we didn't leave the doubles players out. I'm going to try and keep it very, very simple, but work on a little bit of how the point starts. There's a few presumptions there about where people stand when they're serving, but we're just working, and again, on this as a basic theory to broaden out from. So if we think here, we've got the pink marker, we've got the server, and where we've got the yellow marker is the returner. So the server's at the top. This is the serving team, returning team. It's very interesting because a lot of players naturally stand much closer to the net when their partner's serving, and stand round the service line area when their partner's receiving. And that's important. It's like maybe we do it out of habit, but that is the basic idea. The reason we do that is we know that the orange marker, the returner's partner, is not allowed to hit the serve. Okay, the yellow player has to return it. So that is why these two are in this position, because we don't know where the yellow player is going to hit the return to. If he goes to the green, well, then the orange player is grateful to be a bit further back, so it gives them a bit of time and space to protect themselves and to recover and react. The green player is forwards because he knows the orange player is not allowed to hit it. There's no threat. So at the start of the point, as far as the green player is concerned, he's thinking, well, I'm just dealing with the yellow player. Now, we're going to look at a couple of basic things. What we see a lot at club level, we see the server's partner either standing here or back on the service line. You can stand wherever you want, but neither of those two are great. I think a lot of players who stand here, it's very simply because they're overly concerned about getting passed down the line. You've got to think now, if you imagine the markers are the players, you've got to think their wingspan, you know. Ideally, I would imagine this green player, with one step and a racket's arm reach, they can probably cover up to here. They can cover outside the court. So if you bear in mind that the markers are just the heart of where the person is, I would say to you a nice start position is pretty much in the heart of your service box. Be careful. If your serve of your partner's a bit erratic, you don't want to get a ball on the back of the head. But let's just presume their serve's good. They know how to aim it. They're not worried. This is a great place to start. We haven't yet seen where your partner's served to. So before we get too worried about the line, we want to see where they serve to. If they serve down the tee, this will have the effect of moving the returner to the left. So when that happens, this player now, they're covering most of the line. If this player was to aim up here, it crosses past the net player very close to them. Very different if the player was over here, it crosses much wider. So before we think purely about covering the line, we want to see where the serve's gone to. So let's have a little look at this chain of events that goes on. Let's say, for fun's sake, the pink player serves a wide serve. That's where it lands. It's gone all the way across here, and that will continue on over to around about here. So this player's served out wide. That's going to make the yellow player have to move to their right in order to return the ball. If the green player stays still, this area here has just become much bigger. This player can hit the ball much wider over the net and it will come back into the court. So most of us are very clued in with this. It's where the phrase cover your line comes from. Once we see that player moving over there, we have a knock-on effect of moving here. How does that affect this player? And this is the bit we often see. This player often does nothing, or even worse, starts moving this way. What we're looking for is we want to think to ourselves, if the ball goes to the green player, what does the green player see? Well, at the moment they see a massive hole between the yellow and the orange player. Massive. We can't cover every inch of the court, but I think most would agree that the middle of the court is the easiest place to hit the ball. So if you're leaving the easy part open, there's a problem. So ideally, this player feeds off the movement of this player. As this player moves over to here, the green player, the orange player will move with them. They follow them. This goes against a lot of people's initial thoughts. They tend to feel like they're going to play it this way. Even if they do, because they've been moved here, you're still covering a lot more of it than you realise. So this is very, very important. Remember our wingspan again. If this player's here, I would say this guy's got a wingspan of here to here. So we're only losing that. Yeah, it might look like a big area, but if you've ever tried to hit an angled volley, especially when the return's coming at you quickly, I think most of you would agree that to hit that shot is a lot harder than to hit it here. So we're almost giving up a little bit of what we think is difficult for our opponent to do. We're almost challenging them to go for the difficult shot, and if they can make it, they deserve their round of applause. Let's come back to this position here. So let's remember, let's just show you the sequence of events. Ball comes over, goes out wide, makes the returner move over, which in turn makes the server's partner move over, which in turn makes the returner's partner move over. This player, believe it or not, would actually move out the other way a little bit, but we'll come to that another day. So we want to think about that. That's the first case scenario. Second case scenario. The serve goes over in the same spot, so they've all moved. This time, the return doesn't go to the green player. The yellow player manages to get it back. Now, this is where, when this happens, you can appreciate if the ball's now here, if these guys stay still, there's a massive hole down the line. Massive. So in this instant, once the orange player is certain the ball's got past the green player, now the orange player has to think, where should I be to block this player off? Now, of course, it would be a cross, but we want to go forwards as well because this player is no longer the threat. So ideally, we come in diagonally. This knock-on effect should make this player move back diagonally. The roles are reversed. If this player had stayed still, which is a very common thing at club level, you tend to find this player stays there looking at the ball, but they don't move. So again, if the pink player now plays it anywhere near the orange player, look at this void. It's huge. So these two are feeding off of each other. The ball goes back to the yellow player. They both move back to their reset positions. Yellow player gets it to pink. Guess what? Reset again. Pink puts it to orange. This is why the green's here. They're now feeding off each other and they follow each other. So if this ball goes down the line and the orange one's gone across, this guy goes like this. They're feeding off of each other. They come back, forwards, working, sparring, okay, in that play. So, remember, we had two possibilities. This is right at the start of the point, and it's so important because a lot of players are very good once the point gets going, but most points finish within the first 3 or 4 shots of a point. So if you're really good positionally, technically, all these things at the start of a point, your first 2 shots, you're in business. You've got a much more likelihood of winning your tennis. So we can't be out of position at the start. We can't have this player over here letting their poor old partner do 65, 70% of the work themselves. And we've got to make sure we try and work as a unit. Last little thought. What if this player intercepts? Can happen. So this player's returned there. This player's thinking, oh, I'll go forwards. Well, as we said at the start, you've got to make sure it gets past the green player first. Can you picture what can happen is if this person's moving in and this person's moving across, it looks like there's a collision about to happen. So it's very, very important that when you're in this role, whenever the ball's behind you, if you're at the net, you're not turning around, staring at your partner, hitting the ball, because you can't see what the other person's doing at the net. You can have a little glimpse, but ideally, as soon as you've seen the balls in and you've had a little glimpse, you look at the net player on the other side of the court. This goes against a lot of what singles players have been taught about keeping your eye on the ball. In doubles, sometimes you've got to look at your opponent because they tell you where the ball is. So if I'm looking at that player, by their movements, if their racket goes up, that tells me they're about to hit a hard ball. I'm going to back off. If they move to the left, I move to the left following them. So it's vital that when you've got the ball behind you, your attention goes to the other net player, and that's how then, hopefully, you can add these strategies in. Gets quite complicated, but that's a good place to start. And I think it's a really nice idea just to think your strategies through a little bit As we said, hopefully when you're back on court, hopefully soon, you can put this into play a little bit. Have a nice day, stay safe, and let's look forward to seeing each other at Camden Hill. Take it easy.